interest, nobody's been ruled out. We are talking to everybody. Nobody's been ruled out. It's a pretty broad investigation right now. Dad had been dropped off by a family member in the morning at the police department. It was nothing that we asked him to do. He was just coming in to find out more information about his daughter. And as I started to explore that, I found out he's done this quite frequently. In fact, he was there again this afternoon. He's talking to detectives, trying to find out information, and as any good parent would. What did the police tell you in the lobby this morning?
They questioned me about a bunch of things, just like you guys are doing here.
They asked you if you had taken her to Mexico?
Yeah.
And your answer?
No. No.
I'm Mike Brooks in for Nancy Grace. I want to go straight back out to Kate Thompson, reporter for KRON, who's there in front of the home in Tracy, California. Kate, what is the story with the... We just saw the father. What is his story? Does he have an alibi?
Well, the father said that he had nothing to do with this. He said through a spokesperson yesterday that he took a lie detector test and he passed that test, and he stood his ground and said that, you know, he was down in Mexico. He had nothing to do with this when she was taken on Friday.
But back out to Pat Brown, criminal profiler. Do they usually tell you if you passed a polygraph or not?
Not necessarily. Sometimes they use it as an investigative tool. So we from the outside can never believe a statement that is made that one has passed or one has not passed unless it's coming directly from the police themselves. So I would say they're keeping two lines open as far as we know, looking at the father as a possible suspect in taking his daughter away, and we won't know if that's true or not until there's some proof, and looking at a sex offender, which I want to point out is not necessarily a pedophile. A lot of sex offenders will take children who aren't pedophiles simply because they're easy, because they're small, portable little things and they're easy to grab. And so they're going to be looking at all the possible sex offenders in that neighborhood as well.
Okay, Kate Thompson, how many sex offenders do we have in this area, and do you know if law enforcement has gone out and talked to them at all?
Law enforcement said in the first couple of days that that was one of their priorities, that they had gone out, they had checked into the high-level sex offenders in the area, and that there were no issues there. There's quite a number that are surround this trailer park. I think it's about over 80, but the police said that they checked into all of those and that everything came back okay.
Now, what do you know about the father taking the polygraph? Did he in fact take it, or is he just saying he did?
The police won't confirm who they have or have not given polygraphs to. They just say they've been giving them to some people, but they won't confirm or deny it either way. The father said that he took one and he passed, but the police would not confirm that. So they're being very tight-lipped about who they have given polygraph tests to.
Back out to Jeff Gardier, psychologist and author of Love Prescription. Jeff, you know, I've used polygraphs when I was an investigator as a great investigative tool. What do you think of polygraphs?
Well, as we know, in many court systems, they're not admissible. But here's the thing. Someone who tells you that they want to take a polygraph, usually that's someone who you may not suspect as much as the person who runs away from it, or the person who says, you know what, I'm not going to take your polygraph, law enforcement. I'll go out and get an attorney and get my own private polygraph. When that happens, then you say, now I really suspect something.
Back out to Kate Thompson, reporter for KRON. Kate, now, we've heard about two, you know, I don't like the term persons of interest, but two people that law enforcement has spoken to. One guy, 59-year-old guy, Frank Waller, who's apparently an 8th degree black belt, karate instructor, has a little dojo there in Tracy, and it just makes me sick. Apparently, when she was 6 years old, they were swimming in the community pool, and he kissed her on the lips. And then there's this other guy, Chris Sinclair, who's 49 years old, who apparently was arrested for obstruction of justice. What can you tell us about these two characters?
Well, not that much, to be completely honest with you. The police will not comment on the people of interest. They just say they have two people of interest, but everybody is a person of interest. They're not ruling anyone out in this case. So they haven't told us too much about them other than that there was that incident a couple of years ago, but they said that they're leaving that be, that they're going to do their investigation and then go back and check that out, that is not a top priority, that they don't have the manpower to go back and check that incident out at this point. So they're moving forward. They're not looking at the past and what happened with him before this.
But, you know, I think it's significant because didn't they also perform a search warrant on both of these guys' houses?
They put a bunch of search warrants out. They haven't told us what they're looking for. I can tell you right now that they just brought in a flatbed truck and more police cars came into the trailer park just moments ago. So they keep going back and researching and doing more warrants, but they're not telling us what they're looking for. And a lot of the times, just like here now, they're going back to the same places that they've been to many times before.
Back to Randy Kessler. Randy, you know, if there's, you just can't get a search warrant just by saying, hey, you know, we think this guy might be involved.
No, you need to have reasonable cause, and you know, the bottom line, this shocks me that he isn't the main suspect. Someone kisses a little 6-year-old girl on the lips, and there's some detailed investigative reports that we haven't been able to see. They didn't just say, oh, this was somebody in the neighborhood who the kid knew. The parents actually reported this guy, and there was a full investigation. So this guy, 2 years ago, kissed this kid on the lips.
Yeah.
We don't have any other leads. We're looking for leads. We got thousands of volunteers handing out flyers. Here's somebody who had a connection to this child.
Yeah.
You know, why not spend every ounce of energy looking at him? They'll get a search warrant for
That's it. You know, I mean, come on. This guy is 59 years old. 2 years ago, he's 57. This guy, for kissing her, you know, that's contact. It could be an assault. He should have gotten locked up. Mark Klass, weigh in.
Has a job where he has constant contact with little children, and apparently has for years in his dojo. So if I were a parent who had ever had a child under his supervision, I'd be asking myself some pretty tough questions right now. This guy does look bad. Mike, there's something I'd like to address, though, and I think it's a critical mistake that's been made in this investigation. And I'm only saying this because I don't want to see other law enforcement agencies make the same mistake. She disappeared at 4 o'clock. She was reported to law enforcement at 8 o'clock. About 8:15, they had volunteers, law enforcement volunteers from all over the community coming in to help, including the FBI helicopter. However, they failed to notify the media until 11 hours after she disappeared. And when they did that, it was a totally half-hearted attempt to notify the media using bad data. Therefore, the vast majority of people in the Bay Area were unaware that this little girl had gone missing until maybe 24 to 48 hours afterwards.
More quickly, did her disappearance meet the criteria for an Amber Alert?
No, but there's a huge difference between an Amber Alert and waiting 11 hours and then doing a half-hearted attempt to notify the media.
Well, you know, we're going to be on top of this. We'll stay in touch because, again, this little girl's missing. Want to thank Angela Chavez, her aunt, for being with us. But tonight, CNN Heroes.